Welcome back to the online family program coming to you from the Sunshine Coast Health Center. So this month we're talking about emotional self-regulation. So calming ourselves down when we're feeling upset or angry, or picking ourselves up when we're feeling depressed or sad is just a part of life. And sometimes we're better or worse at doing this for ourselves. And of course it's really nice when we have somebody else there to help us. But unfortunately, we can't always depend on that. And so this is something that we need to know how to do for ourselves. We're not born with this ability. We had to learn it along the way. So just as with our attachment style, our ability to self-soothe is learned in our interactions with our very first caregivers. And in fact, our tactics that we use for self-regulation can be predicted by our attachment style. So if you have an kind of anxious attachment style, you're more likely to use distress signals to try and get other people's attention to help you when you're feeling upset. Whereas on the opposite end of things, if you're more on the avoidance side, you're going to probably suppress your feelings and hide them from other people and not be seeking help from others. So like I was saying, we learned our emotional regulation in interaction with our caregivers, and that was both in what they did with us in their interactions, but also watching them as models. So I'll give you a couple examples here. So, a lot of people grow up in families where it's not okay to cry. Crying is just frowned upon. So they learn at an early age to stuff those feelings. Another example is if you grew up in a family where your parents argued angrily and loudly. You learn that that's how you deal with their anger, and you don't learn how to talk calmly and assertively. Those are some ways that we learn how to regulate our emotions, for better or for worse. And another thing that has a big effect on our emotional regulation in our environment when we're growing up is whether it's a validating environment or invalidating. So what I mean by that is if you're constantly told that how you feel is incorrect, it's going to get pretty confusing, and you're certainly not going to be able to learn how to deal with your emotions. You're probably just going to stuff them. So your environment has a big effect, and another thing that has a huge effect on your development of emotional self-regulation is your sense of self. So if you have a very strong sense of self, if you feel confident and good self-awareness, you feel like you can trust yourself, you feel secure, these all lead to having better emotional self-regulation. And whereas if on the opposite end of things, if you don't feel secure, this leads to feeling confused and not knowing how to deal with your emotions. So this is one of the big questions that we ask here of the guys at the Sunshine Coast Health Center, is a very basic human question of who am I? Self-identity is really important for lots of things, not just emotional regulation. And, this question, we usually answer it in normal development sometime around in our adolescence, but this can get thwarted for lots and lots of reasons. And also, even if we developed a sense of self, this can be kind of lost later on in life if we become focused on things that are outside of ourselves too much, like work or, even family. So those are some things that can lead to your development of your emotional regulation skills. So next week, I want to talk about what helps us in our daily life to be able to regulate our emotions. So please join me again next week.